So today we're gonna talk about all the different visa pathways for all of you students, graduates, maybe professionals, for you to stay here. So we'll start off with my story and the reason why we're doing this conference. Then we'll continue on with Michael Iatsukha, and we'll discuss business visas. And then we will discuss with Inna the work visas, and then with Aliya, we'll discuss the global talent route, and we'll discuss all your questions afterwards. Why we're doing this? It starts kind of with my personal story. So my name is Fedor, as you might have guessed. And yeah, I've been a student on a Tier 4 student visa back in 2017. Started in St. Andrews, everything seems great until I started looking for a job, and then it was difficult. It was before COVID, obviously, but still it was quite difficult. I was a bit clueless where to apply, what to do. So I applied to about 120 jobs, got a bunch of offers, and then I got myself into a fintech startup, which actually did not have a work visa sponsorship back in the time. And then persuaded them to get a sponsorship to accommodate for me, and then kind of started growing professionally, properly in the UK with the work visa. After some time, I looked back on my journey and I realized that it's kind of still not working properly. Obviously, most of you may heard of the post-study work visa, which is enrolled right now. But back then there was no post-study work visa, and some of you today, you're not qualifying for this visa route. So it was a very short time frame, and I could still see that students are struggling, a very bright international talent. And then I started digging up the statistics, and I was amazed by the amount of people who managed to actually stay. And when I looked it up, out of all students on a Tier 4 student visa from 2017 and 2018, there were only 3.5% of people who stayed in the work visas or in the talent visas or in the business visas. And if you think about it, 3.5% is really low. For me, it was shocking. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was doing my calculations over and over again. And then I realized something is really wrong with the system. And well, I had to step up. At the time, I was doing this internal management consulting thing in a fintech startup. It was great, but I already felt that there was a next big thing waiting for me. I started with the business immigration pathways, working with Sterling Law, and then I realized that career advisory is something which students like me back then, like you, is what really needed. So that's why we're doing this today, and that's first. The second reason, I want to show you that there are not just one unified path for you to grow. There are lots of hidden opportunities. There are lots of different ways for you to stay. There are lots of misconceptions about the visas and about the career, and I want to break them down. I want to show you that there are so many different ways you can stay. Things like today we'll discuss all the visa pathways, which you may not be aware of. Tomorrow we'll discuss personal pathways of those who make this journey. We'll talk about tomorrow later, but just keep in mind that it's not just the big firms which are hiring on visa. Because of the COVID, it's more difficult to say, but it's not impossible. And it's about working hard and smart. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the challenges of the visas, a little bit of an overview of what's to be expected today. And then we'll move on to Michael, who will talk about visas. So I guess the main visa most of you are considering is the work visa route, is a Tier 2, which Inu will talk about. And obviously, it's not just about that. There's the Tier 5 route visa. So for most of you, the government authorized exchange scheme, you'll be eligible for that. So Inu will talk about it in detail. If you want to run your own business, there's more than just way to do this. There's a startup visa, there's innovator visa, there's sole representative visa. It's even possible to do it under the tier 2 work visa, just more complicated. And then if you are talented or you show promise to be a talented person, then there's a promise visa and the global talent visa. And Aliya will talk about it. As you've probably seen during the past years, the visa landscape we were in, it even was called in professional circles as a hostile immigration. And that's because the narrative was that the net migration target is supposed to be down, supposed to be lower every year. Now this idea is being abandoned. The idea towards skilled migration is more on the agenda. And also, as you can see, there are all the new visas spurring up, and Brexit is also playing a huge role in that. So, as most of you know, January 2021 is the important cutoff date. And after that, a lot of new immigration changes coming in place. Most of them are quite beneficial to all of you. And I guess we'll discuss about it later in detail. What's also important to understand is that employers will understand that they don't have the right permits yet to hire the international students, and they'll start applying for this permit. Obviously, with COVID in place, it's complicated, to say the least. But some companies are growing, some companies are stagnating. From what I see, if you focus on the digital economy, on the innovativeness, and in general, if you grow future-ready skills and future-ready jobs, then you will be in the right place. And that means that you should not only look in large firms, you should also look elsewhere. Look wherever you think there is something for you. Think about where you want to develop. Think about the skills you want to develop. And then think about the immigration pathways in the way that they aid you in your quest to grow. We'll go to the first question. Let me read it out. Right, so I'm a Brazilian. I'm currently on tier 4 student visa, which expires next year. And I really would like to stay here in the UK. I would like to know if for me to get a work visa, do I need to have a company that is willing to hire me, or can I switch my visa without a sponsor or employer? So you would need to get a job offer from the employer to get a work visa. And we'll discuss it when her time will come. Obviously, there are other visas where you don't need a work visa or work job offer from a qualifying employer. And it can be done on the starter visa, for example. It can be done on the talent visa. So that's something for you to be aware of. Hi there, I'm also a student on tier 4 visa. What do you suggest me to do if I'm on a really tight budget? Where do I apply? What do I do? Business background. Okay, right, so think first a little bit about what skills you want to achieve. And also what I just said, focus on the digital economy. Then pretty much apply not just directly for all these companies and jobs you see there, but also try to grow your own professional network. And that's how more than 80% of jobs are being secured worldwide and in the UK. So what I mean by professional network is do the networking, people on LinkedIn. Don't do kind of cold sales, please hire me messages. Try to build genuine relationships, try to build genuine connections. And then try to direct these connections into getting some kind of opportunity for you to shine. Some kind of project, something to test about, maybe work unpaid a little bit, just to show the employer that you are worth dealing with, that you are worth considering. If you're on a low budget, be also aware of the visa costs. The initial visa is usually between 300, 700 pounds. Then the IHS fee, which is now at 400 pounds for most of the visas per year. and it will be increasing to 628 pounds, I believe, per year later in October. So this other cost, which either you or the employer will have to pay. And then you basically have to figure out how you're gonna manage these finances. Try to negotiate it with the employer, but also be aware that sometimes you will need to pay for it yourself. Sometimes there'll be a deadlock in negotiations. For you to proceed, you will need to basically find some funding yourself. You mentioned you have to persuade the employer to provide sponsorship. Could you please tell us your story? Okay, right, my story. So my story was back in 2017, I applied to, as I said, 120 jobs, looked up literally everywhere. And basically what happened, my friend from school, he was doing a placement in a fintech company called Shadow Founder. And he was quite happy here. And I actually didn't want to go through this route. I was applying only for big firms. I thought the big career is only in the bigger the company, the bigger the career. I was really wrong about that, but still. And then as the days passed, as the months passed, I was getting to the assessment centers, to the interviews, and I realized it's getting nowhere. And then I guess around March time, I started to seriously consider my other options, not what my career center told me about the visas. I started to think about, okay, instead of getting a job offer on a work visa, I want work experience in the UK, and then I'll figure out. And once I stopped asking employers to get me a work visa, once I started looking for experience, I found myself a bunch of projects to grow professionally. And as soon as I got myself an experience actually in Glasgow in marketing technology, I was literally nobody there once I started, but over the 3 months, I actually learned a lot about marketing and analytics. I started to get much more interviews. And also this fintech firm started to show interest in me. So then I got one interview, another interview, a case study. I went on to meet in person. I also got a final assessment center in KPMG, and I got all 3 offers. So I had the opportunity to stay in the early stage startup in marketing technology in Glasgow. But back then I had no idea how to deal with the visa because there was literally no money back then in this company. I had an offer to join KPMG, and it wasn't that interesting for me. It was HR, not even HR advisory. And I had the offer to join as an intern-ish for this fintech firm. And then basically what I did, I thought, what's best for my career? And I thought, I just want to do something crazy. I want to make an impact. And I managed to convince my employer, the Shadow Founder, to give me carte blanche, just do whatever I want, just show what I can achieve. And I managed to apply for the innovation grant, which amassed, I believe, almost £50,000, just, well, you can say out of thin air, and it's kind of recurring thing for them. I also managed to run some analytics on the marketing team and realized that we don't need to spend £10,000 as not performing. And by showing these things, I was lucky. I was both lucky and I was looking for opportunities everywhere. Then I was convincing the employer, look, the work visa license costs X amount of money. The process is kind of that process. Let's go ahead. And they said, yeah, look, we see you brought lots of value to us already. We're happy for you to stay. There were lots of kind of fancy bits about negotiating work visa with them, who's paying for what. Glad now it's over. I guess it's another big topic. I can talk for like an hour or something. So yeah, that's how I managed to stay. Smaller startup companies usually couldn't offer visa sponsorship. They can offer. It's not that expensive. The work visa sponsorship, it's pretty much for smaller firms. basically 500, 600 pounds is the actual license for tier 2. And obviously you'll hear about it later in the conference, but look, 600 pounds is, it's not a deal breaker. Immigration lawyers cost a bit more. Obviously, it depends which lawyers you talk to. Sterling Law, which we'll be presenting here, they have very attractive pricing. I trust them with lots of immigration bits. And then there's the visa cost. So all in all, it's usually below 5,000 pounds altogether if you consider getting a license plus 3-year work visa. If you compare it to how much your higher education costs in the UK, it's manageable, okay? And you can convince the employer to pay value. Question from Tiara. Companies have licenses to sponsor tier 2. However, in my early stage career, is it possible to get sponsored from graduate program? Yeah, so graduate programs, they sponsor. So with graduate programs, it depends. The larger the firm, the more strict they have HR policies. With the HR policies, basically what I mean by that, they already make up the rules. They already decide if they're going to consider work visa or not. And it has nothing to do if they're eligible or not eligible. It's the internal understanding of the work visa process. Literally any firm can sponsor you for a graduate role if the salary is high enough. So in your case, I advise not to deal with large firms just because it's such a pain. Obviously, there's out there something for you. So with graduate firms, if you really want to build a career in a big firm, so my simple strategy would be, you look up online, you look up if they have tier 2 license. If the big firm doesn't have tier 2 license, it's pretty much a no-go. If they have a tier 2 license, if they're hiring, if they didn't freeze their hiring because of COVID, great. If you're not sure if they sponsor work visas for the graduate roles, because having a license doesn't mean the HR policy would allow them to hire graduates on a work visa, you can ask them. Or you can ask the recruiters, you can ask the HR personnel, reach out and basically ask them if they hire. With smaller firms, the advice is the opposite. Don't mention the visa until you get through the later stages of recruitment, because you need the decision makers to consider you in smaller firms. And then you can convince them to sponsor you. Okay, I guess 2 more questions and then I'll hand over. How much money does it cost to sponsor work visa? Right, so way to sponsor yourself. Michael will talk to you about the business pathways, and then you'll hear from Aliya the talent visa. So that's pretty much it. With the work visa, so as I said, if they have the license, pretty much, I would say altogether a few £1,000, 2, 3, 4,000 pounds. If they need a license, it's more. How easy is it for a company to become a sponsor? Relatively easy. Again, you'll hear about it more later. What's the best way to approach a company about sponsorship? Coming bold and saying, I know what the process is. Obviously, you need to know what the process is, and tell them, look, if you like me, if you have money to sponsor me, if you have money to pay basically my salary, right? If you have the role, then visa won't be a problem. And that's kind of the main idea you need to put in their head. It's going to be a problem, it's going to be an obstacle, but you need to convince them that it's not that big of a deal. How Goldman Professionals help international students in getting work experience and placements. So we arrange unpaid work experiences in startups. So we do it ourselves through our network. The other big thing, we help you with boosting your employability. That's working with your CV, with cover letters, looking where you apply, how you apply, passing interviews, negotiating work visa. That may sound like a fluff, but in reality, it makes a huge difference with just like CV things, right? The first impression counts, knowing where to put effort counts, applying for the wrong firms will make you waste a lot of time. Okay, and obviously you can look it up on our website. It's pretty much self-explanatory. Right, Mike, hope you're ready. I'm handing over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. So just a bit about myself. My name is Michael. I'm one of the lawyers at Sterling Law. I do specialize in business immigration, commercial and corporate law mostly. So what I want to talk with you about today, it's basically business visa routes, which would be available to each and every one of you, and which could be used as an alternative if you will not be able to get sponsored on Tier 2 visa, or if you will not be able to find a Tier 5 visa job. So what I'll start with is Innovator and Startup visa. Both of those visas, they're actually kind of almost identical. Both of them require you as an applicant to have a business idea, and this business idea needs to get endorsed by higher education body or their other endorsing bodies such as accelerators and incubators. To get an endorsement, you will have to show that your business idea is innovative, scalable, and viable. Essentially what it means, innovative, it's straightforward. You will have to show that your idea is unique, it's something new, and that or that it's somehow different than what is already available on the market. For viability criteria, you will have to show when you will be providing your business plan. You will have to show that you will have to show that the results which you indicate in business plan are realistic and achievable based on your resources. So for example, if you will be saying that I will be developing IT startup and you do not have any knowledge or any background in IT, and you will not be indicating in your business plan that you will be working with IT development team, then obviously your business idea might not be as viable, because the first question would be, how are you planning to set up your business idea without the necessary knowledge? And then you will have to show that your business will be scalable. What it means is that there is demand for your product or services which you will be trying to offer, and that you will be able to scale your business in the long term, and maybe you would be able to offer your services on the worldwide or European basis, and not only domestic basis as if within the UK. So those are the requirements to get the endorsement. Once you get the endorsement, the procedure is straightforward. You fill out the application form, you prepare covering letters, and you apply for a visa. And what are the main difference between startup and innovator visa? So first of all, for a startup visa, you can get a visa for 2 years, but it doesn't count towards your indefinite leave to remain. And after 2 years, you will have to switch to another visa. And in this case, it would be innovator visa. While innovator visa, it can be granted for up to 3 years. And what it means is that after 3 years, you would be able to apply for indefinite leave to remain. However, even though innovator visa sounds much better, but there are also some disadvantages. For example, if you're a Tier 4 student, you will not be able to switch to innovator visa in country. What it means is that you will have to leave UK, you will have to go back home to your home country, and then only from outside you will be able to apply for innovator visa. As if only if you have a Tier 4 visa. However, with startup visa, you can switch in the UK without leaving the country. You can apply within the UK to get a startup visa, and that way you will not have to leave the country. And especially taking into account all the lockdown measurements and how our traveling restrictions are increasing every single day, it could be valuable to consider a startup visa route first, even though if it takes more time, but at least you will be able to stay within the UK. Another difference is that for innovator visa, you will have to show that you have access to £50,000. You do not have to invest them at the beginning, at the initial 3-year period, but they will expect you to show that you have invested the funds when you will be applying for indefinite leave to remain. Those funds can be held in your bank account, or those can be funds from third party who is or which is willing to provide them to you. So you could use it to expand your business. I would say those are probably the most important difference in Innovator and Startup visa. And for both visas, you will have to show that you're a founder of the business idea, and that, or if it's couple of founders, you will have to show that you're playing a vital role as a founder in this founders team, because they have introduced this change recently, I believe 2 or 3 months ago, and it has been done to avoid people just fishing for business ideas which are not their own and joining the business. It cannot be done anymore, and now if you want to apply for it, you will have to show that it is your business or your business idea. And then probably I'll probably discuss sole representative visa now, and then if we will have any questions, we can always come back to startup and innovator visas. So sole representative visa is, I would say, it's probably one of the best alternatives to startup and innovator visa. And what this visa allows you to do, it allows an overseas parent company to send a senior employee to the UK to establish its first UK branch or wholly owned subsidiary. So in other words, what it means is if there is a company which has its headquarters outside of the UK and which doesn't have any presence in the UK, and if you're an employee of this company can send you to the UK to establish a subsidiary or to establish a wholly owned branch of that company in the UK. However, there are some disadvantages because it's not as easy as it sounds. First of all, you will have to be employed in overseas company. Second of all, you will need to have a senior role. And for example, let's say if any of you are students who have recently graduated or are only going to graduate in the nearest future, it is highly unlikely that Home Office will believe that you had a senior role immediately after you have graduated. So probably what could be considered with this visa, if you're doing undergraduate, you could start working in the overseas company while doing master's degree part-time. And then in 1 year, it could be held genuine that you have progressed to a senior role and that then the company decided to send you to the UK to establish its branch. But you also have to keep in mind that you cannot be a shareholder of this overseas company. Your partner cannot be a majority shareholder in this company as long as you want to bring your partner as a dependent to the UK. And one of the key criteria, one of the key requirements is that that parent company, it cannot have presence in the UK. That's first of all. And second of all, it cannot have any other representatives because obviously if owner or a majority shareholder of the company will be in the UK himself or herself, then they will not need a sole representative. And Home Office will be able to conclude that your application wasn't genuine and that all this company set up and presence in the UK is being done only with the sole purpose to help you to come to the UK on a visa. I guess that summarizes all three of these visas briefly. Let's see if any of you have any questions, we could answer them. If not, then we could go into more details.
So the first question is, does the startup visa 2 years counts towards the 10-year indefinite leave to remain route?
Yes, it will count, but obviously in 10 years route, you will have to be careful about your absences because the amount of days you have to be absent is quite strict. And if you will choose to go under this route, before doing so, probably it would be a good idea to submit a subject access request with the Home Office. You can do it online on gov.uk, and you can just request all the details which they hold about you. And that way, sometimes they will add all the lending cards which they have under your name, and you will be able to calculate all the absences carefully, because I can appreciate that probably you will not be able to recollect all your travels in the 10-year period, because it would be quite a huge part of time.
Who the startup visa is for, a little bit in detail. What kind of person should consider it? Would people who desperately want an extension for the visa take it as a route, or what's your opinion?
Yeah, so as I previously said, startup, like when I will be talking about startup, I'd probably be talking about startup and innovator, because they are kind of similar. And I would consider it if you actually have a genuine business plan. And I will explain to you why, because if any of you are familiar with previous tier 1 entrepreneur visas, it's not going to be as easy as it was before. It's not like you just prepare a business plan and you just show it to endorsing body and you get a visa. Once you apply, and if you are successful, endorsing body will be always monitoring your business progress. You will be having calls with them on a 6-month basis or meetings with them, and they will be assessing how successful your business is going. And if they will come to a conclusion that you're not successful, or that you lied in your business plan, or that you're not actually dealing with the business and you're working somewhere else part-time, they can take away the endorsement, and you will essentially lose your visa. And to apply for that visa, but to apply for that visa again, you will have to go through the whole procedure of applying to endorsing body, of providing your business plan, and for identifying that you actually made all those criteria which we have discussed before. So if you're desperate for a visa, it would be a good option, but please make sure that you come up with a business idea. Please spend time and do your market research, or do some questionnaires, ask your friends around if that's actually a good business, because you will have to stick to that business for 2 or 3 years. In startup visa, you have to work on your business. You're allowed to work somewhere else, but your main focus will have to be your business. And in Innovator visa, you can only work in the business which you have established. You are not allowed to work anywhere else. So it will have to be scalable, and you will need to generate income from that business to sustain yourself in the UK.
Obviously, myself with Sterling Law, we help with business advisory side of things and with the immigration side of things, obviously. So if you have any questions about eligibility, if based on our experience, if your startup is worth pursuing, if is worth developing, you can reach out to us and we can help. I've seen cases where a person would get a startup visa or graduate entrepreneur, which used to be a startup visa before. They start doing it and then they realize it's not for them. And as long as the endorser allows them to work part-time or full-time, in most cases, most students actually do that. And then if they realize that startup is not going as they planned because it's a startup, then they basically usually switch to the work visa route. But obviously, when you're applying for the endorsement, you need to believe in your idea. You need to know that you actually want to do this. The worst possible thing to happen is that you are stuck with the business. It's great, but you don't like it, and then you have to do it, and then it's just going to be a torture for yourself.
Yeah, and also to add to that, about the endorsement procedure itself, you have to be ready that when you're applying for endorsement, some of the endorsing bodies may ask you to provide equity to them. Unfortunately, it is a standard procedure, and it's becoming a normal procedure now, but hopefully Home Office will implement some changes in the future, because right now, when you're applying for endorsement, if you have a good business idea, an endorsing body can come back to you and say, we will endorse you if you will give us 10, 15, 20. It's a case-by-case situation, but if you will give them from 5 to 20% equity, you probably just as an advice, you shouldn't give into that immediately, because the amount of endorsing bodies is increasing almost on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, I would say. And there are multiple of the endorsing bodies, based on my experience, who do not request any equity and who actually do provide endorsements. So you could always leave the offer which requests equity from your business as a backup offer. And why I'm saying that is because if you will give out 20% equity only for your endorsement and you will not get any investments, then you will not be able to complete successful investment rounds in the future, because you will end up having no shares and no control of your own company, and your company will end up not being successful, and you might not meet criteria to apply for indefinite leave to remain in the future. And probably just to summarize, we could briefly touch on some of the settlement criteria to get that indefinite leave to remain.
Before that, can you tell your opinion about endorsing bodies which ask for payment in order to give endorsements? I know it's a tricky question.
Yeah, that's extremely tricky question. So basically, a rule of thumb is that endorsing bodies are not allowed to sell endorsements. Let's put it that way. However, what most of them do, most of them sell it to you in a unique way. They say, we only provide endorsements to members of our groups or to members of our closed groups.
Accelerators.
Yeah, but to become a member, essentially you will have to pay £12,000 a year, and you will have to pay it for a 2-year period. And what it means, it's almost the same as saying that we can sell you an endorsing body, an endorsement, as long as you will be paying us £1,000 per month. As I said, generally it is not allowed. However, it has been going on like that since those visas have been introduced. Home Office hasn't done anything as of yet, but I do think that they will be looking into it more carefully, and hopefully this will change in the future, because some of those endorsing bodies, they're not actually assessing your business idea to benefit UK and to benefit UK entrepreneur sector, but they're more looking into it from a way to generate income for themselves. So I would say you leave those endorsing bodies out unless you're extremely desperate to get an endorsement, and that's the only one who actually is willing to provide you an endorsement. But as I said previously, there are a lot of the endorsing bodies which do it the proper way, which do not request any equity, which do not request any funds, and which can actually endorse you. And in addition to that, they can actually help you for free and guide you through your whole journey. So probably one of the most popular endorsing bodies, and the one which everyone would like to join, would be probably NatWest Accelerator.
There's a question. I guess it's very close to where you're headed right now with the settlement. Can you switch to Innovator visa after startup visa in country, or you need to apply from outside the UK?
You are allowed to switch to Innovator visa from startup visa inside the UK. So it is allowed, and the only thing, what else is allowed? So to switch to Innovator visa, you can switch from startup visa, you can switch from tier 1 visas, which are no longer existing. It's tier 1 graduate entrepreneur and just tier 1 entrepreneur. You can also switch from tier 2 visa, and you can actually switch from a visitor visa, but this one is a bit tricky, because when you will be applying for a visitor visa, you will have to indicate that you're applying to be a visitor to undertake some activities as a prospective entrepreneur. And you actually need to state that in your application. And as long as it is stated in your visitor visa application, you can actually switch in the UK to Innovator from a visitor visa.
Mm-hmm. Right. I guess that's all the questions for now. Now, you wanted to talk about settlement criteria
Yes.
specifically.
Just to briefly cover them, as I said, once you apply for Innovator visa, or if you switch from startup visa to Innovator visa, after 3 years on being on the Innovator visa, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain. To, 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 to be successful in this application, you will need to show that you have achieved at least 2 of the following criteria. And Home Office, they provide 8 criteria, and you only need to achieve 2 of them. I will walk you through probably through the easiest ones first, and then they will be increasing in difficulty in terms of achieving those. So one of the relatively easiest one would be to show that £50,000 has been invested in your business and has been spent within the business to further develop your business. Those £50,000 don't have to come from you directly. They can be invested by a third party, as long as you or your immigration lawyers prepare all the necessary documents to show that. Then the second one would be, I would probably say that you will have to show that your business has created at least 5 full-time jobs for a period of 12 months, and all of those 5 employees had £25,000 salary per year. It's a gross salary, so it excludes any expenses. And there is quite a similar one to this one. Is another criteria is that your business had created the equivalent of at least 10 full-time jobs. But this one doesn't have any requirements with regards to the salary. So you could do 10 full-time jobs with a minimum salary, and Home Office what Home Office considers full-time job is at least your employee has to work 30 hours 30 hours per week. Then one of the most difficult criteria would be that you will have to show that your business has generated a minimum annual revenue of $500,000 in the last full year, or that your business has generated a minimum annual revenue of $1 million in the last full year, or another one is that your business has engaged in significant research and development activity. This one is relatively straightforward, but unfortunately doesn't apply to every single business idea. So if you have a unique business idea, and if you were thinking about getting a patent for your business idea, you could theoretically satisfy this criteria. And the last criteria, which I personally consider the most difficult one and one of the most confusing ones, is that you will have to show that the number of the business's customers has at least doubled within the most recent 3 years. And that's a first part of this criteria. And the second part of this criteria, you will have to show that the number of your customers currently is higher than the average number of customers for other UK businesses offering same products or services as your business. So for example, let's just look at the simple example. If your business is a coffee shop, and average clients of all coffee shops in the UK would be 1,000 clients, you will have to show that your business has the higher average number of clients, which would make it 1,001, or anything higher, obviously, which I believe makes it the most difficult criteria, unless your business is extremely unique and you don't have any competitors, which is unfortunately highly unlikely. And those are all the 7 criteria. And as I previously said, you will only have to satisfy 2 of them. It is doable, but it can be tricky. And that's actually making us going back to our initial answer, that if you want to follow this visa, you actually have to perform, and it actually has to be a genuine business plan, because if it's not, you meeting these criteria will be extremely difficult.
My question is, How do you see COVID is impacting business visas from your perspective?
Actually, I think it's going on well. All those business visas and demand is growing for those business visas, but unfortunately, it's not good news for someone who wants to apply for this visa. Because obviously everyone is staying inside, and even though it's COVID and the economy is suffering, we could also refer to this period as technological boom, because people losing their job, people starting their own companies, and people are thinking about how to create a product which will benefit everyone. And that also means that people are applying for business visas. And endorsing bodies, they have a limited amount of endorsements they can issue. It's not an unlimited figure, and it is limited. And I actually I believe they have a quota of 25 endorsements. So it can be extremely and highly competitive now, and maybe the threshold of your innovative, scalable, and viable business plan is much higher now than it was before.
Hi, Inna. Are you ready?
Yes, hello, sure.
So, Inna, welcome. I think we talked briefly about the different paths of Mike. We already talked about startup, innovator, sole representative. I know the itinerary talks about tier 2 and tier 5 visas, but we had literally, I don't know, 6-7 questions already about the post-study work visa.
Okay, so shall we start with tier 5, then tier 2, and then we will pass? Because about the post-study work visa, not much information available on the market at the moment. So I guess it's not much we can discuss. So I would leave it for the very last bit. If we start with tier 5, I'm not aware how much you're familiar with this type of the visa, but I will briefly explain what does it mean, who can apply for this visa, and for how long, and other details about tier 5. So tier 5 is a visa for interns. This visa allows you to apply for up to 12 months, but you can extend this visa for more 12 months. There are different categories available for this type of visa. There are tier 5 religious workers, there are tier 5 sports person connected to modeling as well. And there is the most important, and I think the most interesting for our audience, is tier 5 governmental exchange program visa. What does it mean? So this category, tier 5 governmental exchange program visa, is created for those people who secured internship within the UK with one of the registered companies in the UK. This company should be registered legally and trading on the territory of UK, and should not have sponsor license, because most of you think that to be employed in the UK, you need to find a company who is actually who actually holds the sponsor license. With tier 5 category, it's a bit different. So you only need to find a company who is registered and legal in the UK. Let me say you just graduate from your university and you want to practice a little bit and to get some working experience in the UK. And you found a company who suggested you this training. So this is a perfect picture and perfect situation where you can use this tier 5 visa. This is also good for those who is not aware what to do, and they just want to try. Probably they don't want to stay for a full-time employment after that, but this is a good chance to try yourself, probably to find a perfect company, and if you would like, stay on the tier 2 after your tier 5 expires. But let me continue step by step. So once you secured your proposition for internship with one of the companies, the next step will be to prepare your package for tier 5. So the general things you need to remember about this visa. First of all, you must be a graduate, a recent graduate for the last 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, and you should receive your diploma, or at least you need to study towards the last bit of your diploma. Some of the sponsors who will be sponsoring you on visa, and I will explain later what does it mean, they require you to get this diploma, so you need to hold it. This is number one. Number two, you need to have some funds available on your bank account. It's £945 for the last period of time. But if your company certify your maintenance, you don't need to have these bank statements. You don't need to have these funds available. It will depend on the situation. Number three, you need to have a training plan. What does it mean? So your company needs to provide you with a clear picture what you're going to do within the next 6 months, 8 months, or 12 months, up to 12 months. Remember that this visa can be up to 12 months with the possibility of extension after that. So you need to have a fixed training plan month by month or week by week, which will explain what you're going to do with this company. And the last thing is, and is the most important, this is not an independent work. This is not working visa. As I mentioned, it is an intern visa. So you must have a supervisor, or you must have people within this company who will basically be supervising you, or will be your mentors, or who will check your work, give you tasks. So you cannot work independently on this visa. This visa is created for people, for graduates, as I mentioned, to try and to get experience. So you should not be an independent worker. And your position within this company should be a supernumerous, which means it's not a separate employer who takes the position of someone else. So let me say there is a marketing manager. You cannot, there is no marketing manager within the company. You cannot replace this person. So you will be under this person. This is really important to remember. Also, so basically, this is all what you need to have for this visa. The next step is a structure of Tier 5. How does it work? Basically, there is your employer, and there is a sponsor. So a third party, a third company who will be sponsoring you. That's why I mentioned that there is no sponsor license. There is no need of sponsor license for your employer, because there is someone else who will sponsor you. That's how Tier 5 works. So there is you, your company, and a third party. We call them sponsors or independent body, or you can call it how much you want. But the idea of the sponsor is to give you sponsorship. So they will be considering application for cost for your license to apply for visa. So if to make it more clear, I would say the Tier 5 visa application process consists of 2 stages. Stage number 1 is to get your course, your certificate of sponsorship, and the second part, it will be to apply for visa itself once you get this course. So you remember this triangle, right? So you got your internship from your employer, then your employer takes all the documents you prepared, they add training plan for you, and they send these documents to the third party to consider your application. At this stage, it's a very important stage, and most of people are refused at particularly this stage because they are not prepared enough, they don't know how to draft training plan, they don't know the structure, they don't know requirements. So this is important to understand what the Tier 5 visa itself and how to do it properly to get. Because the third party takes responsibility, and they will be watching you basically, and they will be keeping eye on you whether you comply or all restrictions placed on Tier 5 visa, so you don't work in different place, or you earn something more than was declared, etc., etc. So they will be considering application. If they're happy with all what you provided and your position is approved, they will issue course. They will issue course sent to your employer, and your employer will say, congratulations, everything passed. So now we are ready to apply for Tier 5 visa itself. And we pass to the second stage of Tier 5 visa. For Tier 5 visa, you also need to prepare some bundle of documents. You need to add your knowledge of language, police registration, if you are eligible for that, and other documents which this stage requires, and then you apply for your visa, and that's it. If you prepared everything in correct way, you will get it. So just to recap and repeat once again, what are the most important things about Tier 5 is you must be a recent graduate, and if you want to apply from inside, so you want to switch from your Tier 4 visa, let me say, to Tier 5, you can do it inside, by the way. If you want to do this, your diploma must be already in your hands, and your internship must be connected to your diploma. So if you finished marketing, let me say master's in marketing, your internship should be connected to marketing. But there is a trick. If you go outside and you apply outside for your tier 5 visa, your diploma should not be connected. So you can kind of train in different areas. It should not be directly connected. Yeah, you still need diploma to prove that you are just recent graduate, but your diploma should not be connected to what you're going to do in the UK. So that's why some students, they find good employer, but they know that they cannot connect their diploma to internship, and they actually want to train something and practice something else, completely else. So this is a chance for them to go outside and apply from abroad. So recent graduate with knowledge of English, with secured internship, with good training plan, and this will help you to apply for this visa. Also, tier 5 visa is a good bridge for those who want to get employment, a full-time employment under tier 2. We will speak about this a bit later, but this is a good bridge because, as you know, salary for tier 5 is at minimum level. And some of sponsors, they do not require even your employer to pay salary. For example, BUNAC, the name of the sponsors who provide courses, they only can sponsor you for 6 months internship, but unpaid. So if you find employer who cannot provide you salary, but they can still provide you a training, you can use BUNAC. Yes, you will get your visa only for 6 months, but this will help you to practice and to gain experience. Some of sponsors, they require minimum salary requirement. You can find a minimum salary requirement on governmental websites. There are rates which are connected to age, to different situations. So you can see a table there and you can find your minimum. At the moment, for those who are under 25, it's around £8.70 something per hour. So this is a good bridge, for example, to get tier 5 for 12 months, to train, to get experience, to familiarize with strategies, with everything what you need within the company. And then your employer sees that, oh, actually, this guy or this girl is really good, so we want to sponsor her for tier 2. So this is a good 12 months space for you to kind of gain trust from your employer and probably to push him to sponsor you for tier 2 if they are ready. Or probably this will be a part of your employment contract. So you have 6 months on tier 5 probation period, and then if they like you, if you comply with all points they place for you, then you can proceed with tier 2. So Fedor, I think now we can switch for tier 2 if you don't have any questions or...
No, it's good. I just wanted to know to the audience, tier 2 is better than tier 5. If you can persuade the employer to give tier 2, it's much better for you in terms of indefinite leave to remain, everything. But sometimes timing is not right. Everything could be not right for tier 2. So there are lots of cases where you join on a tier 5 and then the employer gives you tier 2, but not always. Getting tier 5 doesn't guarantee that the employer would want to keep you later.
Yeah, to explain for audience what means, probably you don't know, but I will just briefly mention that Fedor is talking about 5-year route. If you gain tier 2 visa, you can work on and you can stay in the UK for 5 years on your tier 2 visa, and you need to comply obviously with other restrictions. You can apply for indefinite leave to remain once you complete your 5-year route. Because tier 5 does not allow you to count this towards your 5-year route, but your tier 5 counts towards your 10-year route. So if you studied for 5 years, you cannot secure employment right now, but they are ready to sponsor you for tier 5. You can get your tier 5, so you'll be 6 years in the UK, and then you can complete your tier 2 for further 4 years and apply for indefinite leave based on your 10-year route. But Fedor is right, because tier 2 is more serious visa, I would say, and it's more you are independent worker, you have status in the UK, and you're on your 5 years routes, which will allow you to apply for indefinite leave to remain. So for example, you are a student at the moment and you secured your employment, so someone offered you a job in the UK. So the first stage, it will be to check whether you actually can apply for tier 2 for this particular job position. And before we proceed with these stages of tier 2, I will mention that tier 4 will allow you to switch inside the country for your tier 2 as well as tier 5. So this is a small benefit. Moreover, if you're on tier 4, there is an exemption at the moment. You don't need to pass through any resident labor market test. this is for someone, the market test is for someone who is switching from different categories of visa to working visa, or who is applying from outside. So if you're a student in the UK and you still have a little bit of time to switch inside, so you still have a valid leave under tier 4, this will be an exemption for you. So it's very easy to switch to tier 2 from tier 4, because your employer just simply need to have sponsor license or to get one. And if you're a student, it's very easier to get if you're a student than someone who needs to do market test, and to order a cost for you, the same cost, the same certificate of sponsorship to sponsor you under tier 2 category. So step by step, you have your job offer from one of the employers, and let me say you are business development manager, or you're gonna work something around this. You need to check whether you can apply for tier 2 under this category, because tier 2, it's not for everyone. Tier 2 at the moment only allows to apply for someone who is level 6. Level 6 means that you are at a particular level of job position. Usually it's management, directors, seniors. So it's not someone who, for example, is at the lower rates. So someone who is assistant, who is personal assistant, who is, for example, waiter, who is hairdresser, who is assistant to architect. So how to understand whether you are at the appropriate level? There is a table, again, on governmental website called Appendix J, and there is a level 6 tab where you can open it and check whether you are within one of the job position you can apply with under tier 2. But the good news is that from January, immigration rules will be changed, and there will be no market test anymore, and they will drop this level 6 to level 3, which means that all those people who I just mentioned will be able to apply for tier 2. But because we are now in September 2020 and we still need to have resident labor market test for some categories, and we still need to be at the appropriate level, I'm giving you information as for now. But if you will wait until January, it will be a little bit different situation, and it will be even easier to apply for tier 2. So you checked your table 6, and you know that, yes, business development manager is within the appropriate skills level. Okay, you are ready to proceed to the next step. The next step will be to check whether you need resident labor market test. If you're a student, you don't need, but you need to be you need to check, because you can be student, but you will still eligible to do market test. There are some exemptions, so be aware of that. Let me say you are student, so then you don't need. If you are switching, for example, from spouse visa, or you're applying from outside, or your tier 4 student visa finished and you have to travel abroad, it's okay. You will then need to do market test. Market test is basically exists to check the market and test the market and identify whether you are, as a candidate, is the best person among other. So you will be applying for this job position as well as other people. So your company will create an advert. They will post it on website. One is governmental website, another is anyone else, anything else. For example, Gumtree, LinkedIn, Find a Job, Indeed, other websites. And for 28 days, minimum 28 days, your employer will be testing market. And all those applicants who will be applying, your employer has to consider it. He has to look at each particular CV and see whether this candidate is good enough. If the situation is that you are the best candidate, because you will also apply for this position, obviously, if it appears that you are the best candidate, then perfect, we are proceeding to the next stage. Your market test is finished. The next stage will be to request certificate of sponsorship course. For those who are tier 4 students, you will get it automatically. Basically, if your employer already have a sponsor license, they will request this course, certificate of sponsorship, straight away, because you're a student and because you don't need a resident market test and because you will be switching inside the country. If the situation is different, your sponsor has sponsor license, but you have to do market test, you need to basically pass the market test, then they will submit course certificate of sponsorship once your market test is done. A little bit different process of application. I will not give details about this, but the idea is that market test first and then they apply for course. If your course is successful, and they apply straight away to the Home Office. So the Home Office consider all of this information. They may request your market test. They may request some additional information about you, because employer will mention particularly you as a potential employee, and the Home Office will know for who they're going to grant this course. The Home Office consider the application, everything is fine, they grant you course. Not you, but your employer, obviously. But this happened, and you are ready to proceed to the next stage, is Tier 2 visa application itself. And here is the same as with Tier 5. You need to add some documents. You need to add your course, language. So basically, you need to tick all the boxes relevant for this visa, and you apply for your visa. But I guess not everyone know what means, which company actually can employ you under Tier 2. I'm not sure if Fedor mentioned this information or anyone else before me, but the company who has sponsor license only can sponsor you for Tier 2. It's not like with Tier 5. For Tier 5, anyone can sponsor you, because not they are sponsors itself, it will be a third party. With Tier 2, it's different. Your company still must be legal in the UK, registered, but they also need to have sponsor license. There are 33,000 approximately, companies who hold sponsor licenses. You can check this again in the internet. You can type Tier 2 sponsors, and you have full list, and you can check whether your potential future employer has sponsor license. If they don't, no problem. You can assist your employer, or your employer can apply themselves for this sponsor license. This process approximately take up to 8 weeks itself, plus a couple of weeks of preparation. So bear in mind that if you're planning and your Tier 4 student visa finishes in January, you need to hurry up, because your company will spend around 2 months to get sponsor license before they can employ you. And also with COVID situation, it's a little bit longer, because the Home Office does not conduct any audits at the moment. This is a part of the process for sponsor license. The Home Office may come to your employer and check them whether they are ready to employ you. So if this happens, it will make it even longer. So bear in mind, leave it 3 months, I would say 3 months to get sponsor license, and then you can proceed for Tier 2. Here is the tip. If you know that your visa finishes very, very shortly, but your employer is keen on employing you under Tier 2, get Tier 5 with them first, and then you finish all the process of sponsor license, but you will be still working for your employer under Tier 5. And once they get sponsor license, they will convert you, they will apply for your Tier 2. Yes, you will have to travel abroad, but it will give you a chance to stay with your employer, to work with them on the Tier 5, and then upgrade to Tier 2 once they are ready with sponsor license.
Inna, I'm a bit mindful of time. Can you talk about the post-study work visa?
Yes, post-study work visa.
We'll do later.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, not much information available. What we know now that it will be for 2 years. Once you, so you need to graduate from one of the universities within the UK. It should be bachelor or master degree. You should probably, this is something which is not available, and the guidance will come very shortly, but we suspect that you will have to also secure employment or have at least offer, and you will be able to stay for 2 years after you finish your Tier 4 for further 2 years to work within the UK with one of the UK registered companies. Very limited information about this visa. Home Office issue a lot of things, like every 2-3 weeks they give more and more information, but there is no guidance for now, so this is still in plans. This visa existed before, and I think the Home Office will basically copy paste with some addition to that. So, and it's also looks like Tier 5 US mobility, very alike. I think it will be the same kind of conditions. So you will need to have some money on account, and you will basically need to secure your employment.
Yeah, we'll have quite a lot of questions. We won't be able to cover them now, so I'll just pick one up, and that's about the Tier 5 US mobility scheme. Can you tell a little bit more about maybe eligible countries and
Tier 5 US mobility? Yes, there are a list of countries, including Korea, Canada, what else? Japan, and some other countries. I don't remember all the countries. You can Google it very easily on Gov website. There is a list. It is quite short, but if you are a resident, you need to hold a passport, not just the permission. If you're resident and you have passport of one of these countries, you are eligible for Tier 5 US mobility. There are also other restrictions. You need to be less than 31 years old at the moment when you will be applying, and you need to show that you secured employment in the UK. You applying for US mobility for the first time in your life, because this Tier 5 US mobility is only once per life. Also, you need to have a stated amount of money on your account, which is, I think, 1,800, if I'm not mistaken. For the last, let me say, 3 months, you need to show this amount on your account. And you should not have any dependents on you. So you cannot bring any dependents on this Tier 5 US mobility. This is the main requirements. It's okay.
Right. Aliya, are you here? Are you ready for action?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Great. Right, so this is Aliya. So a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so hello, everyone. My name is Aliya, and I am an immigration lawyer in Sterling Law Group. And I mainly practice and helping people to immigrate to the UK based on their business. So I'm also dealing other visas as well. But today I'm going to talk about the Global Talent Visa, which is quite an interesting category, I would say. So you might researched about this visa before, because the Global Talent Visa is, I would say, quite a popular visa at the moment, especially for those who are currently on the Tier 2 visas and they're unable to continue their sponsorship with their current employers. So I have many clients who are now switching from Tier 2 visas to Global Talent Visas. And the Global Talent Visa was created for those who have exceptional talents and skills in the relevant fields, which are recognized by the Home Office. So only if you have certain set of skills, you are eligible for this visa. If you have other skills, unfortunately, you can't really apply. I will discuss about these skills later. In February 2020, this visa was replaced by Global Talent. So before that, it was called Tier 1 Exceptional Talent. But in February, they kind of renamed it. And now the name of the visa is Global Talent. And they also had few changes as well. Like, for example, the cap on number of endorsement letters was removed. So at the moment, you can apply for this Global Talent Visa, for endorsement for this Global Talent Visa as many times as you want if your first application was unsuccessful. This is the major change, I would say, because when the endorsement body will be selecting you as a candidate, they don't be relying on the number of endorsement which they can use, because there is no number of endorsement. They can grant it for everyone if you are eligible. This visa, it has two subcategories. So this visa is for those who have either potential to become a world leader or is already recognized expert. So there are two categories of this visa, as Global Promise and Global Talent. So Global Promise is for emerging leaders and Global Talent is for recognized leaders. If you are applying as a Global Promise, the difference is that you will be able to get your indefinite leave to remain within 5 years. And if you are applying as a Global Talent, then within 3 years. So it's like for Innovator visa, you can get it faster. So there is an accelerated road for that, which is quite good, of course, because you can also actually combine this visa with your previous leave. So if you previously were on Tier 2 visa, you can combine it with Global Talent. So in total, you can get your indefinite leave to remain by combining previous leaves as well, which is also a good point. Okay, so who can be endorsed? And maybe I will talk about the qualifying fields. So there are 3 main qualifying fields for this immigration route. So you need to either be an expert in digital technology or arts and culture, which where the endorsing body will be Arts Council, or academia and research, which includes science, humanities, or engineering. So there is a special fields for those who have done the significant research within that fields. But mainly I would say that my clients are applying through Tech Nation, So the experts are within the digital technology field, or Arts Council with expertise within the arts and culture. There are two stages which you need to pass in order to get your visa. So the first stage is the endorsement application. Before you will apply for the visa, you need to get an endorsement. The same is like for Innovator and startup visas. Once the endorsement is granted, you can apply for the visa itself. So this is actually perfect opportunity to everyone who feels that they have relevant skills within the industry and want to try. They can try to get this endorsement. If the application is unsuccessful, then you won't get your visa refused, because stage 2 is only endorsement application. So you are not submitting your passport, you are not sending your documents to the Home Office for approval. However, your documents will be sent through the Home Office. So those documents will be received by the endorsement bodies, and those will be assessed by the endorsement bodies as well. But still, Home Office will be aware that you tried to get this endorsement. But I don't think that it's a problem. Even if the first stage is unsuccessful, you can still get your further leaves, because this is not a refusal for the visa. It's just a refusal for endorsement. Stage 2 is the actual immigration application. So for stage 2, you need to show your passport and all the other documents required. But the good thing about this visa is that you do not need to prove any evidence of finances. There is no any minimum level of investment which you need to disclose. There is no English language requirement. So actually, you only need to prove that you have a valid passport, a valid endorsement letter. The endorsement letters are valid for 3 months, so you need to apply for stage 2 within this time. And that you have a right to apply inside the UK, or if you're applying from abroad, then you need, in some countries, provide tuberculosis tests. So there are certain conditions in terms of where you're going to be applying. But to be honest, in terms of documents, the second stage is relatively straightforward. So this is, I would say, the easiest part of this application. Also, I would like to talk about the benefits of this visa. You already listened to previous speakers, and they have told you about certain restrictions on the types of visas which you might have if you applied for them. For the global talent, actually, you are free to do wherever you want, technically. So there are no any sponsorship required. There is no any need to work for a particular sponsor, for a particular employer. There is no any investment required. You can work within different fields simultaneously, but if you want to get your indefinite leave to remain in the future, you need to prove that you have worked somewhere within this time of your life in global talent category, that you earned something within the field of your expertise. So if, for example, with your first application, you declared that you are a musician and that you are planning to perform in different festivals, then once the time comes, you need to prove that you at least worked somewhere within this capacity, but they won't be controlling you. So like for Innovator visa, like for Innovator, you need to check up with your endorsing body every 6 months, 6 to 12 months, and they need to control your employment. For global talent, this is a different story. So you don't need to prove that you've been working during the whole process and during the whole validity of your visa, which is also good because you will be free. You can also study. So if you want to do the second education, or if you want to study somewhere, then you can do that. However, there are restrictions. The restrictions are like for other visas in terms of the traveling. So if you want to get your indefinite leave to remain, either within 3 years or 5 years, you need to show that you have not been absent for more than 180 days per year. So this is a tricky bit because I had clients who wanted to travel because of their opportunities, but to be honest, you can always extend your endorsement in the future if you need to continue living on this type of visa. But unfortunately, if you want to get your indefinite leave to remain, you need to make sure that you're present in the UK for at least 6 months per year. What else I can say? So in terms of the freedom, yeah, so you're free to do whatever you want to. Restrictions we discussed, and who could be your endorsement bodies. So as I mentioned earlier, the endorsement bodies depends on which sector you're going to choose, and whether you will have a certain experience in the specific field. So if you will be applying through arts and culture, there is Art Council. If digital technology, it's Tech Nation. If your degree or your achievements are related to architect, then you need to apply through Royal Institute of British Architects. So there are different endorsement bodies. You need to identify them in advance. When you will be completing your endorsement application, they will be asking you which endorsement bodies you need to select. So you need to think about in advance. In terms of documents, each endorsement body requires different pack of documents. So depending through which endorsing body you will be applying, you need to present different documents. But as an example, I can say that Arts Council and Tech Nation have pretty much similar list. So you need to present at least 13 documents. You can provide less, but I would advise to show them 13 because most of my clients are providing much documents. And I would say if you want to compete with other applicants, I would say it's better to show as much as you can. 3 of those documents should be reference letters from eminent people. Those who know you, who knows your achievements, who knows your career paths, who worked with you. So you need to ask 3 companies or individuals who've been working in your field for a while, and they need to confirm that they're experts in this field and that they will be able to prove that you're indeed talented, and they need to list everything down on in their reference letters and present it to Arts Council or Tech Nation or other endorsing body. In terms of fees, these fees are relatively lower than for other immigration category. So for the first stage, you need to pay £456, and for the second stage, 152 plus immigration health surcharge. At the moment, immigration health surcharge is £400 per year. So if you need your endorsement letter to be granted for 2 years or 3 years, then you times 400 to 3 or 4, or depending for how long you need your visa. So you will be selecting the length of your visa yourself at this stage 2 of the immigration process. In terms of timing, the endorsement application, the first stage normally takes around 8 weeks. From my experience, I also had clients who received their visa, endorsement, within 2-3 days. So their cases were quite straightforward, but bear in mind that we're relying on the standard timing. And it is 8 weeks, so your case can be considered within 8 weeks. And the second stage, it is normally within 3 weeks if you are applying from outside, and 8 weeks if you're applying from inside the UK. Yeah, and another thing which I want to mention is that unfortunately, you can't switch from Tier 4 visa. So if you're currently on student visa in the UK, you can't really switch to global talent visa inside the UK. But you can get your endorsement. So, because as I said, stage 1 is not an immigration process. So it's not an application for a visa. This is application for endorsement bodies. So if you will secure your investment inside the UK on your Tier 4 visa, then you can just leave the UK and come back within 3 weeks. And as I said already, the stage 2 is relatively straightforward. So I would say that once stage 1 is successful, you more than likely will get your visa and the second stage. You can switch from inside the UK if you are on Tier 1, Tier 2, startup, innovator visa, and there is like some sort of condition for Tier 5 government authorized exchange if you are a researcher. So there is still an option. So if you are currently on those visas which I have listed, then you can switch from inside the UK. once your stage 1 is successful, you can submit your application form here. Another thing, which I think quite important, is if your application is refused. Stage 1 application can be refused, unfortunately, if they will see that you haven't provided enough documents, or your referees are not qualified people, or you have selected incorrect information to present your case. So if your application is refused, you have a right to submit an endorsement review. So you can appeal this decision, but you need to do it within 28 days. So you can submit it free of charge, see what they say, and then reapply. There is no any limit for reapplication, so you can reapply as many times as you want to. But I would say that if you will receive the refusal for stage 1, I would advise you 100% to submit your review application to see more information about the refusal, because for the first application, if it is refused, they just giving you a refusal pro forma without any specific details. So you can get more information if you will get this endorsement review free of charge. So for your next application, you can present your case better. So this is really helpful in terms of that. And you can reapply many times. I had a client who applied 3 times, and he contacted us with his 3rd application, and already, which was refused, but in the refusal pro forma, they have said that he satisfied 2 requirements out of 3. And what we've said when we submitted our endorsement review, we provided documents which we relied on the documents which he submitted with the case, because with the refusal pro forma and with endorsement review, we can't really submit fresh documents as with the review consideration and so on. You can't really provide fresh evidence because you're arguing with them that their decision was incorrect. So we relied on the documents submitted already and just explained why they satisfy the relevant criteria, and they have agreed. So his admin review was successful at the end, and he applied for stage 2. So yeah, so don't worry if your application is unapproved. You can always apply further and clarify those bits. So I think I've discussed the main points, unless you have questions. I'm ready to answer. Yeah.
We have questions. Right, so the first question is from Dania, and she asks, how long does stage 1 normally take? I guess COVID and before COVID.
I would say that no difference at all. 8 weeks for stage 1 maximum. From my experience, it could be even 2 weeks or even less sometimes, but it always depends how busy the endorsement bodies are. So if they're receiving loads of endorsements applications, of course, they won't come back to you straight away. But if they're free, kind of, then they will be able to consider your case as fast as they can.
I guess I want to highlight a little bit that global promise visa and the global talent visa is really potentially the best possible visa route to take if you can get it. Just because you don't need an employer, you don't need to be tied to employment, to endorsement by the startup, by kind of anything. There are much less checks in terms of you can go and do some other things, not just what you were endorsed with initially. And you can work, you can run your own business, you can do freelance, you can study. It's pretty much allowed, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can be self-employed, you can work for your own company, you can open companies. So there is no any restrictions in terms of that. However, again, as I mentioned, that you still need to work in the capacity which you previously declared with your endorsement body application, as they may check when you will be applying for indefinite leave to remain, whether you have worked within that field. If you are not aiming to get indefinite leave to remain, then they won't be checking on you.
Yes, yes. I would say from my limited experience with this and promise visas, obviously they were branded from exceptional to global to include all this research. But I've seen you don't really need to be a talent to get a promise category. You need to have good, strong recommendations.
I would agree, but also they're looking on your past experience. So of course, if you're applying as a global promise, then you need to be at the early stage of your career. So you can be a recent graduate, but still you need to provide them evidence. What have you done already? So they still would expect that you have done something within the last 5 years at least, or less. So 5 years, it's for global talent. Global promise, sorry, if you worked for more than 5 years, then they might revise your case as global talent. So even if you applied under global promise route.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We had a question via email, and that's the question is, what kind of visas sum up with the promise category? So I guess the person being on a bunch of different visas before, can you indicate which visas will sum up towards the 5-year route? Well, I guess it will be 5 years and 3 years.
Oh yeah, sure. So you can combine it with Innovator Tier 1, but Tier 1 not including the graduate entrepreneur, unfortunately, and post-study work. So only Tier 1 entrepreneur and investor you can combine with Innovator, and the Tier 2, but excluding Tier 2 intercompany transfer. So yeah, that's pretty it. So Innovator, Tier 1 and Tier 2 with some exemptions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's a question from Artemy. One of the qualifying criteria for global talent visa requires an applicant to be awarded by a prestigious, internationally recognized prize. Do you by chance know what awards are considered to be prestigious?
Okay, so like if we'll talk about the Arts Council or any kind of film industry, like telecommunications, something like that, then they're specifically asking for certain awards. So in the guidance, there are awards listed which you need to have in order to qualify. However, you can select another criteria. So if you feel that you won't be able to get these awards, you can select another criteria like media recognition, or that you have you attended some kind of performances or something like that. So you can skip this awards part. And most of my clients, they were not relying on awards because sometimes it's really hard to get Grammy or something similar. So those awards are really for unique kind of people. So you don't really need to get them in order to get the visa, because the guidance says that you need to satisfy certain criteria. And for some sectors, they need to satisfy 3 criteria out of, I would say, 6, because there is 2 qualifying, like 4 qualifying and 2 key, so 6 criteria, and you only need to satisfy 3. So, and you can then think which documents you will be able to provide to satisfy it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. One more question from Dania, and that's question if it's seasonal. So does it tend to be an influx of applications from students toward the end of academic year, I guess, for the talent visas?
I mean, if it's seasonal, in terms of the application process, because like for the global talent visa, there is no any time limit. So you can apply anytime, wherever you are ready, when your documents are prepared. So if you feel that you have documents, then you can apply tomorrow. So there is no any kind of timing when you have to apply. Because there is no any limit, there is no cap. So they remove this cap of number of endorsement letters, which could be granted yearly. So it doesn't really matter when you will be applying, because they will have endorsement letter for you if you satisfy their requirements.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there's one more question. Okay, it's tier 2, so we'll get back to it later. I guess, yeah, we'll have a bit of time. I just want to highlight to all our listeners and viewers that we actively help with obtaining all this kind of visas. Obviously, Sterling Law, they're doing something great with just customer service, with helping with finding the right documents, finding the right words sometimes. And we jointly with Sterling Law, we help to boost, for example, in terms of global talent visas, we help to boost innovativeness of the application. We'll help to help you identify which ways you can grow in terms of, so that your application will be stronger. Right. I guess right now there are no more questions for the talent visa. At least none. I can't see any of them anywhere. So that's great. Right, Inna, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Great. I guess yes, we can go towards the joint Q&A. I guess most of the questions, there are a lot of questions to Inna right now, so I think we'll just start with them. Aliya, thanks a lot for just giving such a great overview. It was really, I couldn't think of anything else to add.
Thank you.
Okay, right. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have, okay, so many questions. I answered some of them. Okay, of tier 5, we'll answer those. Right. Okay, can your family sponsor you on tier 2 visa?
No, simply no, because in accordance with immigration rules, you cannot be sponsored by someone who is directly connected to you as a family member, for example, or extended family member. And even some people, what they do, they kind of ask friends and, you know, this kind of tricky things what people try to do. But if the Home Office will find out that you are somehow connected to your employer, to the person who made a decision on your tier 2, you may lose your tier 2, and the company may also struggle, and they may also lose their sponsor license, which is very dangerous. How they can find out this? They can browse, well, they can see from the surnames, they can see, for example, then from the list on Companies House, if this company has directors and one of the directors is your father or family member, or they can come with an audit, and during the audit, sometimes the Home Office interview the applicants as well as the employers, so they can kind of get this idea or impression that you are connected from your sponsors. So this is strictly no.
Okay, there's a question more from my end, similar to this question. So with directors, it's straightforward. What if the company has family connections, in terms of what if this company is part owned by the family of the applicant?
No, because you see, the requirement on the immigration rules is you should not, I mean, your visa should not be compromised. So you should not, the decision on your course, decision on your employment should not be taken, should be taken without prejudice, you know. You should not be selected because of connections. And it's hard to prove. That's why I would never ever recommend my client, even though you can prove 1,000 times, you can show your market test, etc. It is dangerous, and it's forbidden.
Okay, right. Can you talk about the resident labor market test?
Yes. First of all, as I mentioned earlier during my speech, the resident market test will be done in January. So no market test from January 2021. For now, we have still a couple of months for those who has to pass this. And the resident market test is the test which exists to identify the best candidate for the particular position. The market test must be conducted by your employer during at least 28 days. The market test is contained of publishing the advert for the position on two different, or even more sometimes, different websites, including one mandatory, which is governmental website, Find a Job, which run by Home Office. It's kind of a Home Office platform, so they can see the access. And your employer has to keep eye on all the applicants and make, in the end of market test, they need to browse through all the applications, make a table, consider each application, probably interview some of them, and identify the best candidate. If you are lucky enough to become this candidate, then that's it. Market test is finished and you are ready to apply for course. Further disappeared. Okay, I think we got further back.
Something not nice with my Wi-Fi here. Right. Sorry. Yeah, we'll have more questions. Was the last one answered?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Right. Then, okay. Do 2020-2021 graduates eligible, who is eligible for the 2-year post-study work visa?
Okay, so people who graduated in 2021, so from summer 2021, as based on the information available at the moment from government, those graduates who graduated summer 2021 will be eligible for this scheme. They should and must be on their Tier 4 visa at the moment of the application, and they need to already finish their diploma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, from my end, the cutoff date I saw is the 6th April. If you're still a student and you're full-time in education and not working remote, you should qualify, but obviously we'll wait guidance.
Yes, the guidance will clarify all the points, because I guess there are more criteria you need to comply with in order to be qualified for this type of visa.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Okay. Oh my God, there's so many. Right. Okay. Question from Muthu. What could be your suggestion if we work for a multinational company for 10+ years and getting a master's degree in the same work field experience and applying for Tier 2 visa with the same multinational firm in the UK? I guess I'll answer for it as well from my perspective, but from the immigration perspective, so the person worked with the same employer for 10 years and he goes
That's
for
fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, because if you need, if the question is about market test, it's not compulsory you should be someone from out of the business, and you should not know about this company prior to your application for market test for the position. You can work, and you may know about this position which is pending on the market in the UK from inside the country if it's multinational. So it's just a question of how many skills and how successful you are with your market test. So no problem at all. What the Home Office may do, when your employer will submit course application, they may require some further information, and among the questions they're asking for the further information will be your last 3 pay slips if you're working within the same company, and information of what's the position, and some other information. So that's the only thing what you can face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from my end, in theory, it's not difficult. In practice, you need to think who is making the decision, right? So if you've been working for 10 years, India, Russia, like another country, the decision making is likely made within this country. And your connections in that country and your experience in that country may not always translate to the UK experience. Usually the experience in third world countries is being heavily discounted. So 5 years working in the same level of position abroad, hiring managers don't see you as the same level of applicant, or they discount heavily this experience.
This is in terms of accepting you for the position, but from the perspective of market test, it will help you if you had a great experience abroad, because the job position and advert for this job position will contain some mandatory requirements for this position. And let me say, if they require someone who has 5+ years of experience, you are a perfect match. Mm-hmm. So this will help you in terms of market test, but yeah, as Fedor mentioned, not with the decision making in terms of accept you or not, because there may be other candidates who has better profile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And obviously from January, the resident labor market test will be gone.
Yes.
As you mentioned, which, yeah, it's
very good news.
Usually if it was such an outdated measure, it was just ridiculous anyway.
Yes.
That's great. Okay. I'm a recent graduate with an interior design major. My visa expires this January 2021. It's been difficult to get work under Tier 2 due to the pandemic. Could you please give some insights? Well, I guess it's more question for me. Well, the insights, it's tough. But okay, so as I started with today's webinar, right? start with focusing on growing your professional networks. Hiring with COVID is a bit uncertain, it's a bit unstable. With interior design, with architecture, with design in general, I've seen not that great things happening. And a lot of these jobs are now being done part-time. And part-time means you can't get a work visa, pretty much, unless this job transfers into a full-time role. That said, keep on looking around. And even if you can't get yourself a job offer now, if you work on building your professionals network, so network of potential employers, then by leveraging it, so you know this employer, that employer, you know a manager in here, you know senior manager there, and they know about you, and they know about you from the professional perspective. Once the opportunity comes up, then it becomes external. It means because it's not published even, they will talk to you, right? And from the visa perspective, January, it won't be difficult to switch. But obviously, if you can get something right now, go for it. Grab the opportunity, convince the employer. But no, it's not easy. There's no kind of a quick explanation what to do in your case. We can look at closer if you message us later. And do you have something to add?
Well, as you mentioned, that's correct. I mean, if there is a question of staying in the UK, obviously grab any opportunity to stay, and then you can, being here, it's easier to find any job or internship as if you are in comparison when you are abroad. So if you have chance to stay at least for a couple of months under tier 5, or you still have your visa until January, so grab any opportunity, and then it will be easier. Even if your visa will be finished and you already started with someone on an intern basis, let me say, it's easier to persuade people, explain how they can assist you and help you to for example, apply for your tier 5 or tier 2, because most of employees, especially we are speaking about UK-based companies, they are not familiar with this process of tier 5. So they probably have never employed someone from abroad or who requires visa. So you are the person who bring the information and the light to the company to explain how they can help you.
Yeah, and obviously if you have something to do with innovation in your experience, or if you got awards, then as Aliya mentioned, then you can consider the talent pathway. Not guaranteed, but worth exploring. Okay, I guess, right, next questions. A recent master's graduate with 4 to 5 years of prior work experience, which category would be better choice? Global talent or global promise?
Okay, so if you had 4 or 5 years of experience, then I would say global promise. As for the talent route, you need to prove that you have more than 5 years. So you won't really be suitable for the talent visa unless you have any significant rewards. So if you could show that you achieved so far a lot, then you can be considered for the talent route. Another actually thing for the promise and talent, even if you select promise route, the endorsing body can still grant you talent if they feel that your expertise are more suitable for the talent route. So I had it in the past when my client and I, we thought that he was suitable for the promise route, but the endorsement body decided otherwise. And I normally advise everyone to apply as a promise because you have more chances to get a promise. And if endorsing body would feel that you suit for the better version of this visa, then of course it's perfect. It's good for you.
What about applying for endorsements? Can you apply and reapply again and reapply again? Are there any repercussions? Can you basically work on the feedback?
Absolutely. And that's what I normally advise, because when you will apply for the first application and get your refusal pro forma, normally it's just tick boxes. So there's just a general information about your case. So I'm normally advising to my clients to apply for endorsement review. And after getting decision on the endorsement review, then you have more chances with your reapplication, because endorsement review are quite detailed. So they have loads of information which you can use with your next application.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Perfect.
We have a question about post-study work visa. We already talked about it. There is no real concrete information right now. We're all waiting for the guidance, so we already talked about it. Next question is from Konstantin. How crucial is the length of prior work experience before applying for a graduate scheme following bachelor's degree? Okay, I guess this question is for me. Not crucial. If you have too much experience, that's the word I haven't heard for a while, but overqualified, right? If you're going for the graduate scheme, you usually would have less than 3 years of professional experience in the field. Otherwise, you'll be considered that you are not kind of suitable for the graduate scheme. And usually for the graduate schemes, you can apply within 2 years after graduation. If you already had prior experience, it depends on the employer and the pathway, but usually if you think you're more suitable for the mid-management role, if you already had experience of managing people and managing projects, large-scale projects, then look out for kind of not graduate scheme. You can still apply, but it depends more in depth on your profile. Right. Question from Artemi. How hard is it to switch from tier 4 DES? I don't know, DES, tier 4 dependence. I don't know. Okay, from tier 4 to tier 2 while working in the same company and in the same position. I think, is it dependent, Artemi? Can you please clarify? Yeah. Okay, well, I guess in general case, let's discuss what's it like if you're on tier 4 dependent. Can you switch to tier 2?
I guess it's question for me. Can you tell me one more time, because I didn't get the question, honestly speaking.
Sorry, it's no. No. Okay, different question. If you're on tier 4 doctorate extension scheme, how hard is it to switch from this tier 4 doctorate extension scheme to the tier 2 if you're already working in the same company?
Well, it depends on your experience, depends on, we need to check guidance, because with doctors, lawyers, and people who work in art industry, it's a bit tricky because we are allowed to study in tier 4 a little bit longer, and it depends on the type of the course, because there are some technician courses, there are some tier 4 students who finish just bachelor or master degree. So it depends on your type of course, because doctorate exchange, I need to understand for how long your visa is granted, and from your kind of path, how you achieve this visa, and then see how if you're eligible to switch first of all inside. But in terms of how hard is that, I don't think it's hard, because as I mentioned, you already have some experience, and it's a question of market test if you need one, and it's a question of your job position. If your visa finishing and you will be continuing at the same job position, you need to check the appropriate level, if you were going to work on appropriate level 6 at the moment, and if you tick all the criteria of necessary requirements for this position, then you can switch for tier 2. I don't see a problem. But with these unique types of tier 4 and switching, you need to carefully research the guidance, because sometimes although you are on tier 4, as I mentioned before, but you're not eligible to switch inside, so you need to travel abroad. But rules does not prevent you from applying for tier 2, so I don't see any problem.
Right. Again, a lot of job ad forms ask if we need sponsorship in the future. If we say yes, most of the times they will reject, even though they are eligible to sponsor. Any tips for workarounds? Okay, workarounds. I guess I'll answer it first, and then you guys, if you have something else to add, that would be great. Workarounds, well, it depends on the size of the company. The larger the firm, the more stubborn they are with the HR policies. The smaller the firm, the easier it is for them to convince. The firm is relatively small. You can say, no, I don't need work visa sponsorship in the future. You get to meet the decision makers, they like you, and then you say, oh, you bring up this topic of work visa sponsorship. That's one thing. Another thing you can talk about that you're applying for example, talent visa, or you're applying for another kind of visa, which will not make the employer need to sponsor you. The last thing to know from my perspective is when the employers say this, that means that they are very poorly misguided about how the work visa system works. It means that they just don't want to deal with this. They looked at it 5-10 years ago. They dealt with probably with lawyers who are not specialized in work visa immigration, and they were misadvised. That's the most common case in my practice, that employers actually don't know how it works, and they were actually told the wrong things. But yeah, guys, do you have anything else to add to this?
Yeah, I might have a tip, like in terms of for someone who is looking for a job, and well, I understand that it might be sometimes problematic to get tier 2 visa straight away. And some of my clients feel that it is hard to explain to your employer why they need you because you have required qualifications, but why they need to sponsor you. But what I'm normally advising in terms of that, to say that your employer also benefits when they're employing you, because you guarantee them that you will be with them for the next 5 years, because tier 2 is normally the visa for those who want to reach settlement in 5 years' time. So they will benefit within your present. And of course, your qualifications, if you have enough, like if you have diploma, it's also good, like master degree and so on. You can also refer them to the skills which you gained through studying. But the main idea is that your employees also benefit from this process, as they don't need to find someone else for that position in the nearest future, and you will, if you will demonstrate it to them. And also another thing is that, which I think is quite useful, if they would feel more comfortable by you saying them that you have the same terms as everyone else, it might also work. For example, if your employer feels that if they will sponsor you, then they won't be able to finish your employment at the end, because someone else will actually, like that, it will stop their business somehow, because the sponsoring license is also somehow affecting their business. It's not really. The sponsoring license is a different kind of license which they're getting. It's not the license which could somehow interfere with their business, unless they will employ someone illegally. Yeah, in this case, of course, it might affect. But if it's just a sponsoring license, so it's not a big deal. So it's just another license which you're getting, and they only just need to review this SMS system, the system of the Home Office, like once a month, to check that there is no any updates, and that's it. So there is not much obligations. And if you will change your employment, you can always do that. So if they want to stop employing you for any type of time of period, they can do that. So there's no any obligations for them to employ you during the whole time. Yeah, so I think that it is quite useful for my clients. It was useful when I explained it to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I have something else to add. Right. So the thing is, in terms of workarounds, how do you go around this application forms? Most application forms within large firms, I mean, you can go with the gamble and just go ahead and say that you won't need a visa if you have at least like 6 to 12 months ahead of you. But if you see this kind of question, just know that they don't want to deal with it. It will be a gamble in terms of maybe you have enough time to convince them otherwise. Although it could be also that when you go to the assessment center, for example, they ask to look at your documents. And when they look at your documents, they see that you need a work visa, and eventually that you need a work visa, and then they may say no. So it's a gamble in terms of using your effort and time to basically, yeah. But the question itself is quite misguided. Like, why would the company care that much? I mean, it's a cost and an extra responsibility to deal with. Okay, another question from Sarah. I'm starting a short course in London from October 2020 to June 2021. When do you think is the best time to start a Tier 5 application process?
2 months in advance before your visa expires, because it takes time. So you will spend a couple of weeks for, I mean, if in case you secured your employer, then you can leave like 6 weeks, 4 weeks. But if you're still browsing for an employer, obviously you need time. But remember one thing, some sponsors, they on their websites, they place information that we don't accept some applications when your visa is expiring very shortly, like 2 weeks or something, which is not true. They do accept, but try to apply and to get your course at least 1 month before your visa expired, because it's really, really hard to make all the process quite fast, because a lot of work needs to be done. And a lot of clients comes to me and say, oh, my visa expires in 2.5 weeks. I found employer, what shall we do? And we start like, okay, breathe, and we do everything step by step. And in last 2 or 3 days, we kind of managed to switch him. But it's so stressful. It's so unpredicted, because some sponsors, they are very keen on interviewing your employer, and they give it 2 or 3 days. So this process can, can extend, and they don't care if visa expires or not. So this is your responsibility to do it in advance. So I would say leave it 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from my end, in terms of job search, because of COVID, starts right now. Like literally, you have to start early. It became so much more unpredictable.
Yesterday, you have to start yesterday.
Yeah.
It's actually, you need to be in the process already. It's really hard.
Yeah. All right, guys, questions. I have lots of questions from myself though.
I think I saw one question about the amount of money when you are on tier 2 is does your company need to have a capital or when you're opening a sponsor license for a company?
Oh, yes.
This one, I think it's important to know. No, you don't need to have a fixed amount of money in your bank account, because sponsor license is available both for startups and for companies which are trading a long time on the market. You don't need to have a specific amount of money. Obviously, they're going to check your company, like we say, whether the company is ready to pay a salary, which they declared, and etc. But in some of the companies are working on the grant basis or investment basis. So you just need to explain in your covering letter, which we provide usually for our clients and helping them with that, that your company is expecting a large amount or expecting some investment to be done, and you need to show the proof that that you're working on this basis. So it's not a big issue and a crucial moment in the sponsor license application. I would say the most important things are that company has essential 4 documents, and they are real, trading, and sound company which potentially can earn more. So even if you're a startup, it's okay. I'm working, for example, with startups which opened like 6 months or 12 months ago and have only 1 director on their payroll. It's not a problem. We got sponsored licensing for those companies. It's just a matter how you prepare this application and how you explain the need of an international employee within your company.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah, we used to do a bunch of things like this when we had investing in startups, and then we'll have external investment, and then we thought how we're gonna package it up together. And there were startups which were quite early stage. Okay, I think that's great. Great questions. Okay, well, I guess my question would be to you guys. I guess it's kind of a more theoretical question, but imagine the person starts his final year at the university, so has still quite a bit of time ahead, and considering what kind of easiest, best possible pathway to stay. And I want to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I want to say, I would like to compare the two pathways. One is trying to become innovative, trying to go for the talent visa, right? So there's enough time within a year to become innovative and try startup things, try lots of kind of things which will make your application stand out. And on the other hand, focus on applying for jobs and on the getting the work visa route. So guys, Inna and Aliya, what are your thoughts on this matter?
Aliya? Well, I have thoughts, but I will give words to Aliya first.
Okay, so in terms of the global talent visa, so of course I would say that it depends on the documents. So again, it's hard for me to say whether he's eligible, that person, this imaginary person, without knowing his background. But if he's a recent graduate and he worked in the past for the companies within the sector which are recognized by the Home Office, and if he will be able to provide evidence to confirm his expertise, then of course I would say he needs to apply for stage 1 at least and see whether it is successful. If he has more time to get knowledge in the UK and to practice and maybe to find more connections and people who will be able to provide him reference letters, then of course he can do it as well. And at the same time, simultaneously, he can apply for the tier 2 visa, because the stage 1 application process, actually, I would tell you the real example, which I had a few months ago. My client had a tier 4 visa and he was in the process of continuing his education, and the company offered him with a job, and this company it didn't have the sponsoring license at that time. And what we've done, so we had applied for the sponsoring license, because it normally takes around 2 months to get the sponsor license, and at the same time applied for stage 1 endorsement. And can you imagine, his sponsor license was approved and he got his endorsement. And then he was thinking whether he wants to get the sponsoring visa or the independent visa. And of course, he proceeded with the second one because it was beneficial for him. But my advice was correct, because I can't guarantee 100% that the endorsement is successful, because we as the lawyers, we are not the party who is making the decision. For the sponsor license, I would say this is relatively, this is like kind of an easier process, just because there is
more
a checklist. Yes. Yeah. And you know what they need. I would say that it's better to proceed with both options if you have enough money and if you have enough time. But if the time is an essence, then I would say it's better to find another way rather than global talent, because global talent is 50%. So you never know whether it's going to be approved. I had cases when my clients had a really good outstanding portfolio, but still the endorsing bodies was saying that it is not enough for them. And I had vice versa, when they had not enough, which I was thinking, but the endorsement bodies approved their case. And for the tier 2 visa, for innovator, startup, and representative and overseas business visas, there is another kind of system. So you can predict your decision, kind of. Again, I'm not saying that your application can be successful 100%, as there is an interview part which can ruin your case, to be honest, because like for the sponsoring license, they may interview your employer at the process stage, and if your employer lawyer will incorrectly kind of provide them information not related to the company, or like something irrelevant, or there might be complications, and
6 months of complications.
Yes. And there is a cooling off period of 6 months. Yes, so if they will refuse,
they say they're gonna lift it, by the way. There was some news that
they
were gonna lift it. So even easier.
Kind of.
Apply and apply and apply again.
Yeah, so for that person, I would just advise to do both, to try, continue looking for a job, and at the same time apply for stage 1 if he has enough evidence. Ina, then it's your turn.
You answered all my questions and the same idea, because I always recommend to my clients, if you really have enough funds available to you and you have a little bit of time, do both, because global talent is really, as Aliya mentioned, it's like Russian roulette. But this is better option if you get it. I would highly recommend to go for global talent if you know that, or if you got endorsement, or if you know that you're definitely gonna get it. Then this is the best choice. But yeah, do two things. Probably secure, even try to find the tier 5 option as well, because you never know how it goes. And especially now with regards to sponsored license applications, during COVID time, I met some complications connected to the audits, because 2 of my sponsored licenses are pending since July, and their 8 weeks period of consideration finished in July, and they're still waiting for audit to come. So the Home Office informed them that they're gonna visit them to say hello and ask questions, but they said we are waiting for advice from the government, and take into consideration latest updates about the number of cases. I would say that it's it's highly unlikely that they're going to come this year, which is extremely bad because some of applicants were waiting for tier 2 and the visa already expired. And we had market tests conducted, which expires within 6 months. So there is expiry date for market tests. So it's a bit unstable at the moment, but from January 2021 it will be easier in terms of market tests, etc. I think it's best time to apply for licenses, for sponsored licenses.
Don't you think there will be a huge influx of applications?
It will be. That's why I'm preparing my clients now. But with regards to COVID, as I mentioned, I have to be honest with my clients. So there may be, it's not compulsory you're gonna face audit, even if you're a small startup. I had other applications approved like within 3 or 4 weeks during the COVID time. It's not a big issue, but it's like with a global talent, there is a small chance, which you can never predict whether they come with audit or no. They probably will look at the director of the company and say, oh, actually this director was previously involved in other sponsored license which was revoked. Let's come to see this company as well. So you never know. But yeah, now it's the best time to apply because there will be queue in 2021. Because as you know, sponsored license will also be needed for those who want to employ European nationals. So I think there will be increase in sponsored license applications. So for your employers, the best, by the way, another tip for your employer to explain, look guys, if you employ someone from EU and they didn't get their settled status, you still need sponsored license. So why not to do it with my help? I'm a student, it will be easier for you to get your license. So let's do it for your company, for the sake of your company and for me as well. So win-win situation.
Yep. I think from my end, I would say I'm less risk averse. I'm an entrepreneur, right? I will go for the talent. I will definitely focus on just getting this, and it's very prestigious if you get it. And also just unties you with in terms of working for employer or doing something else. I remember a few years ago, we used to discuss similar topics, and we said that tier 2 work visa is a bit of like a modern day slavery, because you're tied to the employer, and if you want to change main employment, you have to apply for the visa again. And because it's quite difficult yet to switch employment, to convince the employer to give you a work visa, and with the sometimes you need to conduct a resident labor market test, sometimes you need to do some other things. Because of these complications, the company can misuse you. The company can promise you like, great salary this year, much bigger salary next year, and then nothing will happen, and they will know that you are very unlikely to leave them unless you are a tech talent, because with tech you are in much higher demand. So that's the reality I've seen quite a few times. That said, obviously, getting a talent visa, boosting your innovativeness, does not mean yourself getting a job. So you may end up with the situation where you got the visa and you have no source of income, which is probably not ideal. So yeah, it's a situation. Also, some students, they come here, they take a loan, and if you're coming to take a loan, you need to wait quite a kind of what your options are in terms of finances and everything. A lot of master students from Asian countries, they come and they work part-time on low-qualified, low-skilled jobs. They have very little time to apply and very little time to do anything else, and very little financial options. So in that case, just focus on one option rather than all. Okay, guys, I guess let's go for one final question, and then we can wrap it up. So, question from Wataway, hope I pronounced it right. I'm a master student studying international business, but recently had a training on manual and automation software testing. It has not been easy getting a job in this new field because no work experience. Okay. So international business masters, trained in manual and automation software, so software stuff. So I guess I don't see a question here, but I see that it's hard. Okay.
Congratulations to the person, he managed to get a position.
Okay. Getting a job. Okay, so if you have not got a job yet with this new field, yeah, I mean, there's a joke that's to get an internship, you need work experience. To get work experience, you need internship. And that's unfortunately is quite true. So you need to get something more practical experience. With COVID, it's difficult, but if it's software related, if you're coding something, you have quite a bit of chances to, you have a chance to get yourself a job, you have a chance to get yourself some part-time gigs from other countries as well, remote from other countries, okay? Just be careful with freelancing in the UK, it's kind of not allowed here. And yeah, so there's one way. And also you can consider the global talent route if you're using your software skills to develop a new innovative product, that could be a solution. You getting a visa will also unfold better opportunities for you. Okay, I said this final question. Okay, final question for Inna. Okay, hi Inna, I'm graduating in January. How do I know if I'm qualified for the 2-year work visa? Okay, you're not qualified for your visa, but okay, any links to access this?
Not yet. Again and again, I'm repeating this thing. We are waiting for the full guidance or full change of immigration rules to know which criteria are. Before they were saying, so those who graduated in 2021 will be eligible for the scheme, but scheme will be working from summer 2021. So potentially you may not be eligible for the scheme. I would suggest wait until January and see, because for now we don't have much information.
All right, guys, sorry, wouldn't say appropriate, but dear colleagues, thank you dearly for your participation. I think your insights were just incredible. I just can't think of any other event or situation where we're grabbing together bright minds like you are and just helping all the students out there. Thanks again. Thank you, the participants. We'll talk a bit for 5-10 more minutes about kind of a few tips from my end, a few other things we have in mind, and unfold you the plans for the day too. And then, yeah, Inna, Aliya, thanks, and Michael, who can't be here today anymore. He's preparing for his exams. He has 2 exams on Monday and on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Right.
Me
okay.
too.
Oh, you too? Oh.
Yeah, Monday. It's period
okay.
of exams for most of the students and graduates who, by the way, you can study at the same time of having some type of visa. So consider this as well. Bear in mind, you can combine things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll proceed to the next slide. Actually, I can do myself. Right. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Anyway, so day 2, that's kind of sneak peek what's gonna be there tomorrow. Obviously, you can look up who will be presenting and about what. And we'll talk about the actual journeys of people who managed to stay in the UK, all of them being on Tier 4 student visas, and now they're transferring to something else. Now they are doing some great things. So we have a speaker who is doing a consulting job in the Big 4, and she went on to get a graduate role there. We have a speaker who had a very interesting journey with getting a graduate entrepreneur visa. Then he got stuck with it. Then he was transferring to different Tier 5 visas. Then we have a speaker who is right now, just recently in COVID, got a job offer and got a Tier 2 visa, or maybe in process of getting it. I think she got it. And then we have a non-tech founder and the challenges of just figuring out the career journey and how it interrelates with visas. And we have a tech founder, so a person with tech background who wasn't able to get himself a job. He will talk about his experience. He's doing great things right now with his new entrepreneurship visa. The last few things I want to tell you guys, again, thank you very much for participation. Thank you for the engagement. We had lots of questions, which is great. Obviously, a quick favor for you. If you like the day 1, just tell your friends to join us on day 2. The more, the merrier. We really want to help as many people as possible to basically broaden their horizons, show that they can stay. And I really want to push this 3.5% of people who are on Tier 4 student visas transferring to other visas. I really want to make it higher. I really think the number should be much higher than that. You guys deserve it. Obviously, if you need any help with career, I'm the guy. If you need help with visas, they are the specialists to talk to. If you have something complicated in mind, business immigration, things like this, you can approach all of us. I think I forgot to attach the contact details, but obviously Goldman Professionals, and they are Sterling Law. Thank you very much, everyone. That's the end of the stream.